It's episode number 30 here at Tech Headlines Today. Thanks for joining us. In the description is a link to the show links on our website, where you can get more details on the topics that we cover. Please subscribe or follow so you'll see our future episodes. Let's get into it. Apple unveils the M1 Ultra, the most powerful chip yet. Apple rocked the computing world with its M1 chip, the first, quote, Apple Silicon hardware that turned the MacBook Air, Mac Mini, and other computers into portable powerhouses. Last year, the company followed that up with the M1 Pro and M1 Max, which delivered even more performance for the 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro. Now, Apple is adding a new member to the family, the M1 Ultra. Apple's M1 Ultra chips are essentially two M1 Max chips put together, allowing it to run more intensive applications like video editing and 3D rendering. Apple says the M1 Ultra features 20 CPU cores and a 64-core GPU. It can handle bandwidth up to 2.5 terabytes per second. Apple didn't need to worry about battery life since the M1 Ultra will be used in the new Mac Studio mini desktop. Still, the M1 Ultra is efficient. AMD to fix fTPM stuttering issues on Ryzen CPUs, but patch is 2 months out. AMD confirmed that some Ryzen CPUs have a stuttering problem when the fTPM module on board the chip is activated. It is working on a fix, but it won't be available until early May or possibly later. A number of customers started experiencing problems after enabling the fTPM module on their Ryzen CPUs. The fTPM module is the AMD's implementation of the Trusted Platform Module, a security feature. Exact BIOS availability timing for a specific motherboard depends on the testing and integration schedule of your manufacturer, AMD stated. Flashable updates for motherboards will be based on AMD AGESA 1207 or newer. Air taxi startup Volocopter hires ex-Airbus defense chief as next CEO. Dirk Hoek is set to take over as CEO of German air taxi startup Volocopter, tasked with successfully completing the certification process for the company's electric flying taxis. Volocopter is in a costly race with companies around the world. It's raising money to build a flying taxi and has recently raised an additional 153 million euros and is valued at 1.5 billion euros. Volocopter is aiming to go public in 2024 and has already raised 495 million euros from investors. Spotify bounces back after outage. Yesterday, TechCrunchers and the Twitter sphere alike were experiencing difficulty logging into Spotify. Folks were reporting on Twitter that opening the Spotify app on mobile leads to a login flow, but even the correct username and password results in a failed attempt. The music streaming company confirmed the issue on Twitter. Discord confirmed it was also experiencing an issue that affects message delivery and receipt. At 2:39 p.m. Eastern, about an hour after reports started flooding in that Spotify had gone down, @Spotify status said everything seemed to be back up and running. Spotify told TechCrunch directly that they are still investigating the root cause of the issue, but that they have no reason to believe it was caused by a malicious hacker. Apple Mac Studio is a pricey desktop PC for power users. Apple announced the Mac Studio on Tuesday, a desktop PC that's smaller than the Mac Mini, but packs enough power to best Apple's MacBook Pro desktop rig from 2019. Mac Studio is a breakthrough in personal computing, said Apple Project Line Manager Colleen Novelli. It's the first computer to put out outrageous performance, extensive connectivity, and entirely new capabilities in an unbelievably compact form that lives right under your desk. The Mac Studio comes with the latest M1 Ultra chip, which is two M1 Max processors linked together and provide 2.5 terabits of bandwidth. The Mac Studio has a starting price of $3,999, which comes with the M1 Ultra chip, while the less powerful M1 Max chip will be available for just $1999. The Mac Studio has 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports, 2 USB-C ports, and a headphone jack. The Mac Studio is on sale now and will arrive March 18th. Oklahoma hospital data breach impacts 92,000 people. A security incident at a nonprofit community hospital in Oklahoma may have exposed the personal data of more than 92,000 individuals. Duncan Regional Hospital, or DRH, found access to some of its systems mysteriously blocked on January 20th, 2022. The hospital disconnected all of its systems from external access and notified law enforcement. DRH triggered its cybersecurity incident response plan and hired an independent forensic firm to determine what had happened, how it had occurred, and whether any sensitive information may have been impacted. Although DRH was able to bring all systems back to normal operations within 24 hours, the investigating firm found that patient information and employee information may have been exposed during the incident. The data breach was reported as an external system breach incident affecting 92,398 individuals. The secret of successful cloud-first strategies. Today's cloud strategies revolve around two distinct poles: the lift and shift approach, in which applications and associated data are moved to the cloud without being redesigned, and the cloud-first approach, in which applications are developed or redesigned specifically for the cloud. Deloitte Consulting's Nicholas Marizzi says that many companies use the lift and shift method and then optimize for the cloud. Marizzi says that for organizations to deliver competitive advantage through the cloud, they must transform critical portions of their portfolios into cloud-native form factors. If an organization wants to adopt a cloud-first model, it should adopt cloud-native practices such as agile development principles and automation. When evaluating multi-cloud, hybrid, containerization, or other approaches, pick one at a time and learn the skills around it first. For more details on this topic, check out the article in our show links. Man gets 3 years in prison for buying Pokemon card with COVID relief funds. A Georgia man who used an illegally obtained COVID-19 disaster relief loan to buy a collectible Pokemon card has been sentenced to prison. The man received 36 months in prison and 3 years of supervised release after that, after pleading guilty to one count of wire fraud. U.S. District Court Judge Dudley Bowen also fined the 31-year-old $10,000 and ordered him to pay restitution of $85,000. COVID-19 disaster relief loans are issued by the government to help businesses struggling to survive during a pandemic, not to use for trivial collectible items, Philip Whistler, acting special agent in charge of FBI Atlanta, said in a statement. This sentence highlights the FBI's commitment to aggressively pursue anyone who would abuse taxpayer dollars and divert them from citizens who separately need them. In July 2020, the offender reportedly applied to the Small Business Administration for an economic injury disaster loan for a, quote, entertainment services business he claimed had 10 employees and a gross revenue of $235,000 in the 12 months before COVID struck. In August, the SBA deposited $85,000 into his bank account. He later spent $57,789 to purchase a Charizard Pokemon card, which was eventually forfeited as part of the prosecution. Google buys cybersecurity company Mandiant for $5.4 billion. Google will acquire security company Mandiant for $5.4 billion, and together the companies will offer a security operations suite to customers. Google announced a new ransomware defense validation service to help enterprises gauge the ability of their security systems to guard against ransomware attacks. Mandiant gained significant recognition after discovering the SolarWinds hack of 2020, which resulted in the spreading of backdoor malware to thousands of companies and governments that use SolarWinds management products. Cybersecurity is a mission, and we believe it's one of the most important of our generation. Google Cloud shares our mission-driven culture to bring security to every organization, said Mandiant CEO Kevin Mandia. Together, we will deliver our expertise and intelligence at scale via the Mandiant Advantage SaaS platform as part of the Google Cloud security portfolio. Russia looks to legalize software piracy to bypass Ukraine-related tech bans. Don't be surprised if software piracy surges in Russia. The growing blockade on certain tech inside Russia has prompted the Kremlin to consider lifting criminal penalties on digital piracy, according to Russian media. The Kommersant reports that Russian authorities have discussed suspending criminal and administrative liabilities when it comes to using unlicensed software from countries that have imposed harsh sanctions on Russia. Russian news website ancb.ru posted a draft plan from the Kremlin citing Article 1360 of the country's civil code. The plan notes that the Ministry of Economic Development will cancel liabilities for unlicensed software. Russia could embrace software piracy to help it address the exodus of major tech firms from its country. The tech industry has been moving towards subscription models for many products, so piracy won't be able to bootleg every software product. Thanks for sticking with us to the end of another episode here at THT. Help us out and share the podcast with your friends and colleagues. Don't forget to subscribe, because we'll see you tomorrow.